Hey guys, it's me. I'm back. I do hope you're staying safe and healthy. I have 6 books for you today. They're still from the big box of books I ordered from Book Xcess from the last time. If you have seen part 1 of it, I do hope you liked it. And if you haven't seen it yet, I have the link of it in my description box below, so I do hope you check it out. So let's start with the first book. For our first book, I have Chuck Palahniuk's Fight Club in this vintage film edition with a black spine. This is actually smaller than the vintage red spine books. So let me get a copy of the red spine books just so we can make a demo of it. So this is the red spine book of the vintage edition, and this one is our vintage film edition. So as you can see, it's definitely smaller. The cover features this very popular quote from this novel, which says, "The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club." I first learned about this story from the 1999 cult film with the same title, and which stars Brad Pitt, Helena Bonham Carter, and Edward Norton. I don't know if they were loyal with this source material, but I'm gonna figure that out once I've already read this book. Published in 1996, this is Chuck Palahniuk's first novel. The idea of the story came to him when he went to work on a Monday with a bruised and swollen face because he got into a serious fight with fellow campers while camping during the weekend. To his surprise, no one asked him about it, and the reluctance of everyone to ask him about what happened in his private life led him to write Fight Club. On the screen is the first edition cover, which features, if you have seen the movie, you'll know this. This is the soap which our main character makes out of human fat, which he would collect from dumpsters of liposuction clinics. Next, I got The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie by Muriel Spark. And this is a very thin book, and it's actually smaller than what I expected. This is in the Penguin Essentials series, and this particular edition is actually as small as the vintage film editions, so they're like the same size, so just so you know. First published in 1961 in book form, this is Muriel Spark's best known work. This is number 76 in the Modern Library's 100 Best English Language Novels in the 20th century. And this book is also among Time Magazine's top 100 English language novels written from 1923 up to the present. The story features one of the most unforgettable characters in literature, a school mistress who has this very strong influence over a group of girls, her special girls, the creme de la creme of her school. I am actually very excited for this book because after reading that description, after reading that blurb, I was reminded of one of my favorite movies, Cracks, which stars Ava Green. On the screen is its first edition cover. The next three books that I have here are all in the Rhodes Classics editions. Rhodes Publishing is a Dublin-based independent publisher, and they offer some of the prettiest books I've ever seen currently. I will be putting some of the titles that are available by them. I have here Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev. Published in 1862, this is one of the most acclaimed Russian novels of the 19th century. One of the most interesting things I learned while researching information about this book is that the writers Henry James and Joseph Conrad were very vocal of their preference of Turgenev over Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. Fathers and Sons is Turgenev's fourth novel out of the 7 novels that he wrote. This was preceded by his novel On the Eve and was followed by the novel Smoke. This novel, it is said, is responsible for popularizing the term nihilism. The Russian nihilist movement, which started around the late 19th century, was the precursor of the broader forms of the philosophical concept of nihilism. Philosophical concepts I find very difficult to talk about because they're usually very complex, but from what I can understand about nihilism, it's the belief that the world is without meaning, purpose, or value. So basically, for a nihilist, there is no moral or religious concepts to abide to, since there is no pre-existing meaning to everything. Just to quote what I read, meaning is not handed to us on a plate or just like a communion wafer. It is made by us or by people in authority. So I am going by that general definition of nihilism, and if you have other thoughts or something to share about nihilism, you are very much welcome to share your thoughts in my comment section. The Russian nihilist movement, however, is more politically inclined or motivated. It was a big political movement in response to the Tsarist rule during that time. The movement questioned the validity of all moral values and social structures, and had the goal to overthrow the authority of the Tsar. These things are represented in this novel, where the main character is described as a nihilist. Next, I got What Maisie Knew by Henry James. It's such a challenge to read Henry James, but he definitely intrigues me because a lot of his works have been adapted into movies, and so I really want to read the original stories. This came out as a serial in 1897 and was published in book form later that year. This is the story of a sensitive daughter whose parents are divorced, irresponsible, and narcissistic, according to the blurb. What makes this particular novel interesting is that during its composition, James decided to shift from writing his stories into dictating them to a typist. This particular novel is written in what Henry James scholars would call the third period of his writing development, whereas the prose in his first period is simple and clear and easy to understand. The prose in the third period is very complex and long-winded and could be cumbersome. It is even said that single paragraphs could run for page after page. So, good luck to me. Next, I got the Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is considered as a historical novel and was published in 1850. The story is set in Puritan Massachusetts in 17th century, where people were very focused on their religion, attending church and reading the Bible were mandatory. In this story, we follow the life of our main character who had a daughter from an affair and her struggles of being a single mother in a very conservative society. Hester Prynne, our protagonist, has been described as the first true heroine of American fiction. Writers who praise this novel include George Eliot, Henry James, and D.H. Lawrence called it a perfect work of the American imagination. So, I just realized how loud the night insects are in my video. So, I do hope you like their sounds. That's them singing after the rain. For our last book, we have another Nathaniel Hawthorne book. It's the Marble Fawn in this Everyman edition. The Marble Fawn, or the Romance of Monte Beni, was published in 1860, so that's after the Scarlet Letter, and was the last of the four major romances of Nathaniel Hawthorne. This was actually a blind buy. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought that the title is very intriguing and that it's written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Of course, this is also a cover buy, but imagine my glee when, upon researching, I learned that aside from this story having the elements of a fable, a pastoral, and a travel guide, it's also wait for it, it's a gothic story. So I got super excited when I learned that this is a gothic story. And so I decided to make this my current read since I've already finished Dracula a few days ago. I am not going to talk about Dracula yet in this video, but I'm already working on a review for that masterpiece where I am basically fangirling the whole time. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for clicking my video and for learning more about books with me. I do hope to have you again next time. Bye!